I was really naive. I didn't realize how much movement and shape and form was so present in making an amazing fashion image. Hi Models.com, it's Ryan Chappell, Movement Director, and we're here in Paris. This is the Jacquemus campaign that I did with Valentin Heffrey in 2021, I think, with Laetitia Casta. And she was actually pregnant at the time, but just very slightly. So it was very interesting to actually move her and get her in shapes that was actually going to hide that, but then also have her very active. She was incredible. I had to slightly micromanage her in a way. Just move that a little bit there because the angles that Valentin uses, he's really known for his fisheye, and it really distorts and changes the body. So it can be the smallest nuance that actually changes stuff. Another one that I did for Dazed just last December, Torso, and Georgia Pendlebury was the stylist, because Torso loved to play with perspectives and that kind of thing. And we did a lot of things where I had to make it look like someone was suspended between two walls. Mind you, it was actually done like on a flat. And it's actually quite challenging, of course, a lot of experimentation just to make it feel like it was suspended. And it can be ever so slightly just the head, the way it's placed. It could be just on a little bit more of a diagonal, and all of a sudden when you turn it up, you're like, oh wow, it's believable. And it can be back the other way, and you're like, it really looks like it's not it. So those kind of things are fascinating, and I love that. They're so small, but they make such a massive difference. There was a pop magazine cover that I did with Valentin Heffrey again, and Kendall was the star of it. She's got such an incredible body, and actually using the body with the shape. So for instance, this one here, like using the shape of her body to actually fit into the context and the actual set. Sometimes it's about that, creating harmony and things to fit with it. Sometimes it's to clash them. Sometimes it's actually to fool the eye. I did an Isabel Marant campaign with Robin Gallig. Selena was one of the main models, and in this particular shot here, I said, let's get her in and out of this. You know, let's get her taking it off, because it's very stretchy, putting it back on, and we tried so many different things, and in the end it's really great because she takes her eyeline into the garment. And it's very interesting how now, after doing this for a while, I really see how your eye, when you're looking at an image, you can direct the eye, you know what I mean, depending on the shape of the body. I also find that extremely interesting now, where if you're setting up a shot where you've got a particular product, say for instance you're selling a bag, it's knowing how to place the body so your eye eventually goes back to this bag. You don't want your eye to go out of the picture, you want it to come back to the product so it's really present, because that's what you're selling. That's also a very fascinating part as well in movement direction, knowing how you can really bring the body to like almost create a context for a product and really lift it in a way that it constantly keeps you focused at that point. I am very much a cliche kind of Billy Elliot story when it comes to learning to dance. I was obsessed with musicals from the 30s and 40s, like Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire and all these kind of iconic, Donald O'Connor, all these people that were in that kind of led me into this fantasy world, which in a way I think kind of linked me to fashion in the end, because it has this sense of fantasy and glamour, and I was always interested in creating things, so choreography was like something that naturally happened. I went to both Los Angeles and New York to train, and then I ended up living in London. And that's where things really started to move for me, especially in the music industry. It's not one size fits all, and I think that's a really big thing as a movement director. You have to really read where someone is and meet them where they are, and then take them somewhere. So when I decided to do this, I got myself access to Vogue Italia's archives, and I thought, okay, this is great. Of course, it's like goes back to my past where I was really inspired by when I was young. And opening up these archives was just it was like treasure. There was one news agency that used to have some random extra little magazines that were always really expensive because of the import taxes and that kind of thing. But my mum also, she worked in fashion, she had her own fashion business. So that kind of thing was around, and aesthetics and dressing. And at this particular news agency, I used to save my money to buy, I guess I was the weird child, going in and buying a Vogue Italia or Dazed Magazine was something then. I was really naive. I didn't realize how much movement and shape and form and even dance in a lot of, depending which era it was so present in making an amazing fashion image. It's very interesting to see how it changes the way, the approach to it. And it's all about the nuances and the things that they add in via the body. Because fundamentally, you know, the things that we are selling are clothes. Sometimes, of course, it's accessories, it's shoes, it's whatever, but still they're connected to the body. Now it feels really great because you can pull on these different ways, and you can, just the way that the leg sits, or the way that they'll put their hands, or the way that the gesture, or where the shoulder goes, or where the chin is, changes everything. You can make the same outfit or the same jacket or the same hat look very different on someone that moves differently. It's like the juxtaposition between how you move, what you're dressed in, and also the context, because without context, you've got nothing to actually ground anything. Even this juxtaposition to with Dovima, like at the time, to put like elephants and for her to be like kind of on a dirty kind of like circus context, dressed in this amazing couture looking extremely elegant, that was also probably very modern for the time. But also what I love about this image, if I'm looking at it and analyzing it, I think that why this really hits so well is that it really represents like graceful elegance. I think that also some of the Mizell things that really inspired me to also mix things up for me, where I was like, wow, that can be fashion. I hope that we move into something where there's a little bit more freedom to be provocative. Like when you look back at fashion history, it's always like that. Like when there's been something that's low, there's always something new or something kind of uplifting that people need to hold on to. I think the movement direction has become such an integral role in the fashion industry because of a lot of different things, especially with speed. Now we live in an industry that's a lot bigger than the 90s or the 2000s, where there's so many more models and there's a thirst for newness. So there's a lot of diversity and a lot of different models coming in, trying to mesh people together. Like back in the day in the 90s, and that from what I understand is that there were smaller teams. It was like teams that did the same thing, and then there was the same model, so they became very familiar with one another. So then that kind of thing, you get great pictures because people have already like this established way of working together in this kind of relationship, where now that does happen, it's a different ball game. And I think with models, they have to feel comfortable. And I think that's where the movement director really steps in to help that into it. From my perspective, it's always about trying to balance things out, because there's certain models that come with a lot of power and a lot of energy, and they're kind of here. And you have other models that are maybe a little bit quieter, and sometimes I need it here, so I need to dial these top ones down and bring it here, so we have this really kind of precise energy in the show that actually really works together. The word be strong or be energetic, be powerful to somebody, and their version of that is going to be very different to the next person, depending where they are in confidence levels or how they are. On a campaign, it's very different because, of course, it's a longer kind of thing, and it's also being able to psychologically help sustain people like right to the end.